Celebrating Small Business Week is important to me because we are celebrating courage, creativity, and tenacity. These three are really the core of being small business owners.
Celebrating is very important because it means that we're celebrating our achievements. But especially when it comes to the business, small businesses, I agree that we need to celebrate because small businesses provide new opportunities and they almost make dreams come true.
So if you want to make your own business, it's a good idea to have people support you and put you on the right way to have your own business and you to have a better life in your job or with you or your family.
Very privileged to have a small business.
Business owners like me are very passionate about their businesses. They put their heart and soul into what they're doing. They work long hours. Their stories need to be heard. If you have an idea to start a business, don't let it brew in your head for too long like I did. There's lots of help available through the London Community Small Business Centre or London Economic Development Corporation. And also the market at the Western Fair District is a great place to start a business. So get help and get started.
So I encourage new people who want to start to be determined, to be resilient, and to be prepared that, look, it might not go on well at first, but with time, it will pick up, you know. And if you are determined to succeed and you don't give up easily, success is knocking right at your door.
Don't give it up. You know, if you want to do something, you know, keep going. In the end, there will come result good.
Be passionate about what you are doing, like making sure that you are really within the subject or within the area that you actually enjoy being, and that it exposes most of your skills, and you can get you can actually like exploit them in a very positive way. I also advise to create a brand, like but an experience about the brand you're gonna build, like not only like explaining to people what you do or telling people what you do or what your business is about, but it also like creating an experience, like how can you offer that product or service in a way that it becomes memorable or an experience, so people will come back to you, and that's kind of like it will create a chain reaction for people to come from like social media or the word of mouth or things like that. And the third is like be a professional. So in the sense that, as I just said it, but it's be a professional is being accountable for me at least is for every thought or word or action that comes out of the things you do as a business owner and even outside the business as a person. Because once people start identifying you as that business owner, they kind of start looking at you as a whole. So it does not detach from who you are as a person, but it becomes like a whole thing. So it's important to be professional. My name is Alejandra Valencia, and I am a London small business owner. Mi nombre es Alejandra Valencia y soy dueña de una pequeña empresa en London.
My name is Yam. I am a London small business. I'm doing well, London, Ontario small business.
My name is خضر مصري. I'm in London small business. اسمي خضر مصري وأنا كمان هون بلندن للمؤسسات الصغيرة.
I'm Dami. I'm a London small business. Mage nama Dami. I'm a London nur kuda vyaparkek.
Our names are Matt and Grace Delpstra, and we are London Small Business. Why Miasi Grace Delpstra? What's the London says in me?
My name is Rosemary, Ehiemwa, and I'm a London small business owner. And a business in London, Canada, Ontario. And I want everybody to join us to celebrate this week.
Good afternoon and welcome to the fourth and final session of our Small Business Week celebrations. All of this week's broadcasts have been made possible thanks to the sponsorship from the Federal Economic Development Agency of Southern Ontario and Fanshawe College's School of Contemporary Media. Every day we've had a new crew of students have been here broadcasting these live shows. My name is Steve Pellerin and I will be your host today. For the past 35 years, the Small Business Center has been helping small businesses launch, grow, and succeed. From concept through startup and early growth stages of business, the center is a one-stop source for information, guidance, and professional advice on starting and running a successful business. We have the privilege of working with small business owners every day. We know how important they are to our community, so this week we've been profiling and saluting local entrepreneurs. We hope you found their stories informative and inspiring. And if you've missed earlier episodes, you can still view them on our YouTube channel. Today, we are doing something a little bit different. Not only is it Small Business Week, today is also the third annual London Newcomer Day. If you have tuned into our earlier episodes, you know that many of our featured entrepreneurs are immigrants. This isn't surprising when you consider the entrepreneurial rate among newcomers is more than double the rate for people born in Canada. We also know the journey to business ownership can be very different for an immigrant, and there are many things that are unique to newcomer entrepreneurs, such as language, immigration status, cultural awareness, credit history, and even professional credentials. We're going to discuss all those things today, as well as many of the common questions asked by anyone starting a business. Fortunately, we have just a panel of experts to do it. Yerusalem Berhane is an experienced immigration consultant and a successful entrepreneur. She established her business in London in 2017 and has since expanded to a second location in Woodstock. Olya Loshkin is a professor at Fanshawe College and a language and workplace culture specialist. She's a demonstrated commitment to preparing newcomers for the world of business and entrepreneurship in Canada. She'll be joining us today via Zoom. Phil Singeris is a business advisor with the London Small Business Center with past experience in banking and business ownership. For many years, he owned and operated a retail clothing store and now enjoys sharing his knowledge and experience with hundreds of new entrepreneurs each year as they embark on their own journey of business ownership. They're here to answer your questions, so please feel free to use the chat function. We encourage you to use the chat function. Let's get started, learn a little bit more about our guests. I want each of you just to give a little bit of background, what brought you on your journey, for some of you, your journey to Canada, as well as your journey to the current career that you've chosen. And I'm going to start with Jerusalem.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Steve. Well, I came to Canada many, many years ago. Let's not mention the year because it will show my age. But I came to Canada as a teenager and I moved to Toronto. I came from Eritrea and lived in Toronto for a while, came to London, Ontario, finished my education here, worked in a computer field as a computer programmer, and then I got my kids, so I decided to stay home and homeschool for a few years, and then by then my computer science has gone, stale. So I went back to the settlement field, which brought me to where I am today. So I worked with a lot of newcomers that were sponsored by the government of Canada. I did that for about 11 years, and that kind of fueled my interest in working with newcomers, and that's where I am now. I decided to open up my own practice as an immigration consultant. Which I love to do. I love doing that every day. So it was a long path, but have brought me to the joy of my work today. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yes.
Phil, what about you?
Well, I was born and raised in London, lived here my whole life. I grew up growing up, my family owned a retail men's clothing store here in town. My grandfather started it. And anyone involved in family business knows as soon as you're old enough to sort of hold a broom, you're taken in with mom and dad, and you know, you get to do some little tasks. And if it's a good task, they flip you. Well, it was a dime or a quarter back then, and I'd go buy a pack of hockey cards or something. But from there, I learned this. I learned the business working through school and through high school. Always working, you know, after school, weekends, and you know, eventually to the point where I continued my education. I attended Western University, got a degree in economics and political science, and then moved into, I ended up working outside of the business, my father's business for a while, but you never truly leave a family business. You're always there, as I'm sure most people in family businesses know. And then my father approached me in, well, going back some years, 94, 95, he wanted to retire, and I ended up leaving my one role at another position and took over the family business. Ran the clothing store for 14 years, 2 locations until 2009 and 10 and 11 is when we wrapped it up. Ended up selling it, closing down. One of the toughest decisions I've ever made in my business life, and very difficult one, and one that your head and your heart are thinking different things, but at the end of the day, it has to be the right business decision. And so I ended up closing that business down, and then I transitioned and went into small business banking. Ended up working for one of our banks here in Canada for about 3.5 years under small business banking. Learned a lot about the financial aspects, the lending aspects of helping small businesses, some of the challenges on both sides for the bank and for the consumer. And then from there, I ended up and landed here at the Small Business Center, transitioned to the Small Business Center. I've been here for this role, I think, about 7 to 8 years. Not sure, time flies when you're having so much fun. And I'm passionate about small business. I'm passionate about entrepreneurs. I love supporting them. I am energized by the energy that they bring to the table. I'm able to help them, to assist them, to you know, perhaps introduce new ideas, new thoughts to them, and to have them look at their ideas and their concepts in a little bit of a different perspective to really eventually help them succeed. And that's what we want to do with our clients, is just help them succeed. And you know, and that's where I am today, and I'm very passionate about doing it and enjoy what I'm doing here at the Small Business Center.
Well, I can tell you, we feel fortunate to have you on our team.
Well,
thank you.
Olya,
tell us a little bit about your journey.
Hi, Steve, Phil, Jerusalem, nice to see you. And hello to those who are watching us. My name is Olya Loshkin, and I work at Fanshawe, teaching language and workplace communication skills to newcomers. I'm, as Jerusalem, an immigrant myself, came to Canada from Russia with my family in 1995. And that time I was a teacher. But my career was changed within a few weeks after I landed here. I was hired by a Canadian investment company as an interpreter and a business assistant. And honestly, I knew nothing about business at that time, but I could speak 2 languages. So I guess I was hired, and that's how my business career started. I got interested in project management later on, and worked for a local consulting company as a project manager for almost a decade. And I guess at some point I realized that I could combine my teaching and business experiences or expertise, and I turned my career back to teaching once again. So this time I'm teaching newcomers, immigrants, and I feel very grateful for the opportunity to transfer the knowledge and the skills that I have, and actually just watch my students to grow professionally. In addition, I'm also a freelancer, teaching newcomers and conducting some educational workshops. I guess that's it.
You know, Olya, both you and Jerusalem, you've said that your passion about working with the newcomers is very evident. I mean, Jerusalem, you said you love working with newcomers. I'm going to ask you each. I'll start with you, Jerusalem. Elaborate on that. What is it that you enjoy about working with newcomers?
I think for me, at least, moving to a new country, it was just me and my sister that came to Canada, right? And navigating the system, it was a challenge, right? You're learning something new every day. And being in the position that I am now, and to be able to help newcomers, I consider myself actually very lucky to be in that position to take away that stress from the newcomers, to be able to guide them, okay, what is, the best way to go about it, whether it's through education, whether it's through settlement, where are the services and things like that. So for me, like Olya, like the education aspect of it, the guidance aspect of it kind of makes me really happy to be able to see them, their lives changing, adjusting well, settling well in this new country, right? It's just a joyful place to be, I guess, from my perspective. Mm-hmm.
And Olya, what inspires you about working with newcomers?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I can only echo Jerusalem, so I feel the same way. And of course, I enjoy working with newcomers. And honestly, there are so many reasons for that. I think that one of the reasons is that just I'm one of them. I was in their shoes. I had to go through the same transition processes. And it was tough. It was not easy. And I made so many mistakes. Probably most of them were cultural mistakes. And right now, I have this opportunity to, I would say, pay back to community, supporting my students through the transition process feels pretty rewarding. And again, it is rewarding to watch how they grow professionally, to watch their success.
Great. Olya, you mentioned, cultural mistakes, and we're going to come back to that. But I first want to, take a moment and say, I know you're passionate about entrepreneurship. I mean, you have brought members of our team out to the college to talk to your students about, about starting businesses. Do you see a lot of entrepreneurs that want to start a business? And what is it that you think drives them to want to do that? Is it passion? Is it necessity? What are you seeing?
Yes, I think that there are, yes, I can see this. I see that some immigrants or newcomers are eager to start their own business. Again, I think that there are different reasons for that. One of the reasons to my mind is actually Canada. People come here and they realize that it's actually a great country for running your own business. I personally think that Canada is one of the best countries in the world for running a small business or a business. So I think that also there is maybe an element of necessity. And what I mean by that is that not everybody are successful in finding a job here, and again, for many reasons. And how sometimes we think that Canada actually is a country where our dreams can come true, right? So many newcomers have been thinking about opening their own business back in their countries, but for whatever reason, they couldn't do it. And again, maybe political reasons, maybe economical reasons. So for them, Canada is a chance, right? So yes, I can see this desire and excitement.
Jerusalem, do you have a lot of people coming to you looking for help with their immigration status, and are some of them potential entrepreneurs?
Yes, I think for newcomers, wanting to open their own business gives them that independence, right? Because there is the language barrier, but not as much so, and the Canadian experience. So finding a job, getting an employment for a newcomer is a scary process, right? So they don't have the Canadian experience or the credentials, but wanting to open their own business kind of opens up that independence, being able to show their abilities, their ideas, their plans, right? And Canada, like Olya said, it's a wonderful country. There are laws to follow. If they follow all those steps, it is doable. So that kind of excitement, that excites them because they, oh, I have this idea and I have the money to back me up, then I can do it this way. I'm comfortable with their language. I can improve that while I'm kind of improving on the business. So it does excite them, it does motivate them, and they do ask a lot of questions about how to open their business here in Canada, yes.
Okay. Now, can any newcomer open a business? I mean, we get this question a lot. Like, we see a lot of students that come to our door with on a student visa. Can somebody on a student, I mean, we have an immigration consultant here, so we have to ask this question. Can a student on a visa start a business?
That's a good question, actually, yes. So if a student is here on a study permit, then the answer is no. They cannot open their own business. The reason is when they are issued that study permit, they have said, we're coming to Canada to go to school to study from this time to this time. That's how they're issued the study permit, and they can only work 20 hours within the school season. And when it's off school, like say holidays and the summers, then they can work full time. So to answer your question, the long answer is no, they cannot open their own business on a study permit.
Now, what about on a work permit?
On a work permit, so for somebody to be issued a work permit has different steps. So let's say one gets a work permit, which we call an open work permit. So say if there is an international student here, then the spouse gets to be issued an open work permit. That allows them to work with any employer, and if they want to open their own business, then they can do that using that work permit.
Is this the spouse or the person that is here on the work permit?
So when you have a couple, so let's choose the husband comes for a study, for a 2-year study permit, then the wife would be able to apply for an open work permit, and
Right.
that work permit will be issued to her for 2 years.
Okay.
And that open work permit allows them, the reason they call it open is because it allows them to work with any employer, which means if they want to open their own business, they can do so, but it has an implication into becoming a permanent resident, and that a bit. I'm sure Steve is going to ask me that question.
I
But
certainly
yes,
am.
yes, that is that to answer though. In all honesty, is that a student cannot start a business. Somebody with an open work
what
permit.
about an
can do
individual
so.
on a work permit? Someone here's on a work permit. I know there are different levels of work permits. Some are, sector specific. They're here to they're allowed to work in this field only. Some are a little broader, where they can work in this field for up to whatever X amount of hours, which allows them to earn income. I mean, when I get asked this, I always say, go back to the definition of what your work permit says, what is written in there, and then, if you're unsure, if it's not clear, get the advice of an immigration. Very, very often I'll refer them to you or, an immigration consultant to, because the last thing we want to do is to jeopardize their status here on their work permit or study permit, and it ends up getting revoked or something at some point. And I've never had that call. I don't ever want to get that call. But, those are some of the questions we get asked a lot.
Yeah, I think the work permits that I can think of right now is 3. So there is one on a student, because I just want to keep it on a student. So a study permit, once they graduate, then they can apply for a post-grad work permit, which then also allows them it's an open work permit, right? And then the closed work permit is if they get an LMIA base, but that's of a study, that's a separate one. And then the other open work permit is related to the spouse. Okay, so when we're focusing on the students, whichever way they do it, the end goal is to becoming a permanent resident, right? So the roadmap has to make sure that whichever way they're going about it, whether it's to open their own business or to be hired, how are they planning to get their permanent residency, right? So any work that if they decide to open their own business, any hours that they earned in their working in their own business will not qualify them for some categories of the permanent residency, right? So it's very important that they know what is the path, right? How am I going to get to that permanent residency if that's what they want to do, right?
So what happens when they get to the permanent residency? It's all good? They can...
So, yes, so I'll just go back a little bit then and explain. So any work that they've done because they opened their own business, the hours does not go into the Canadian experience class. So a student comes here to Canada, goes to Fanshawe College for 2 years, then they graduate, then they apply for a postgrad work permit. That work permit is given to them for the 3 years, because if they went for 2 years, the work permit is for 3 years. And if they went only for 1 year, the work permit is for 1 year. By working that 1 year in Canada experience classes, working 1 year in the NOC O, A, or B, which is managerial or professional field, will then get them to apply or open a profile for the Canadian experience class. It's part of the express entry. It's a lottery system, and it gives them a higher point. Right now, the government is getting a nomination about every month, which gets them to apply for permanent residency, to get nominated and apply for permanent residency faster. So now, going back to a student who decides to open their own business, those hours that they earned does not count towards the Canadian experience class, right? Okay. So that will go into a different category, which I'm not sure if we have time to go into that one, but it will not count towards the Canadian experience class, right? Right. There is another one which is federal skilled worker. So they can add those hours to the federal skilled worker, but that is from that is a different one. It's part of the express entry, but it has different eligibility criteria and things like that. But mostly international students, their mission is, how do I finish my school? How do I get my postgrad work permit? How do I earn that 1 year experience and apply for the Canadian experience class, because the government tends to choose or run a nomination much quicker for that category than the federal skilled worker, especially now during COVID.
Wow, there's a lot of steps there, and
Yes.
it makes me not feel so bad when we can't answer all the questions when clients come in, which is great to be able to have people like you as a resource.
Thank you.
So this is, that was very helpful. I'm going to switch gears a little bit to talk about language. Olya, I know this is your wheelhouse. How important is language when you're looking to set up a business? Should it be, I know a lot of people are sometimes a little bit insecure about the language barrier. Should it be a barrier to entrepreneurship? Are there, can they get help? I mean, let's just explore that a little bit.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I think language is crucial. Language equals communication. That's your communication tool, right? And business is all about communication. So every single day you interact with your stakeholders, clients, staff members. How can you run business without it, right? So it is important. Now, I think that English, like your English, doesn't have to be perfect, but it probably needs to be accurate so people can understand you, right? You won't be able to get rid of your accent, but that's okay. Your pronunciation should be pretty clear so that, again, people can understand you, and that's important too. However, I think that another aspect that sometimes people ignore is not only how well you speak English, but also how you communicate, right? So here, that cultural aspects of communication play quite a significant role in it. So knowing how to communicate in a Canadian business environment becomes really important, right? So, and you know what, maybe it's even more important than knowing some grammar rules, or for example, knowing how to use punctuation between two or more independent clauses. So I shouldn't have said that as a teacher, but really communication, I think that's what really important. And yes, language is a barrier. So if you cannot communicate well, again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you cannot communicate well, maybe you should do something about it. There are lots of language training schools available, courses, programs, so you can of course take some of them.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about you know, the cultural aspects, the means of communication. I mean, I think we often don't put enough emphasis on that. Are there any specific cultural aspects that immigrants need to be aware of when starting a small business? I know that's a really tough question, but let's just get the conversation going.
Yes, absolutely. There are lots of things that you need to consider. And again, as I said, language is kind of one of them. And I think that maybe just one thing to mention is that I just want to go back a little bit and talk about the language. So you can take some ESL courses, of course, but also there are some OSLT courses available throughout Ontario, and OSLT stands for Occupation-Specific Language Training. So it's a kind of a fancy word, but really what it means, it's all about workplace communication, language, and culture. And Colleges Ontario in Toronto are managing this initiative. So, but the programs are being taught in Ontario colleges. So Fanshawe here is taking care of OSLT programs. And for example, so I'm one of actual OSLT teachers. And for example, you know, we teach different specialists, engineers, IT people, healthcare professionals, but we also teach entrepreneurs and people who would like to start their own business. So for example, one of our most popular courses are actually OSLT business courses for entrepreneurs, and we run it twice a year. So the next one will start in April. So if you are a person who wants to improve your language skills, if you want to understand how to open and start up your own small business, if you want to learn again, how to present, how to write emails, how to interact with your stakeholders, clients, etc., how to participate in meetings. If you want to learn more about regulations, business regulations, and laws, again, this is the course for you. So, but as for the, sorry, if you can remind me, what was the other question about?
Before we jump to that question, just
Yes,
about
okay.
the OSL courses and training. So if somebody wanted to engage in that, you've obviously said it's at Fanshawe College. I assume they can go to Fanshawe's website and Google it and find the programming. Is there like, is this a short course, a long course? Is there a cost to it? Like what do they need to be aware of? And are there free services out there to help people with their language?
Yes, well, that's a good question. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's funded. All the courses, all OSLT courses are funded by the government. So it's absolutely free to newcomers. So, and that's amazing, right? So another thing is that we teach a variety of OSLT courses. Some of them are short courses, like 40-hour courses. Some of them are, some of them would last like 3-4 months. For example, the business course that would be interesting for entrepreneur newcomers, it takes about 3-4 weeks to complete. So for example, the one that will start in April will be finished by the end of July. And what you really do, it's an online course. You have to participate in conference calls. So usually there are 2 Zoom meetings every week, and then there are a set of online activities that people need to complete online. The good part about those courses is that we work so close with many local organizations, and first of all, with the Small Business Center. So thank you guys. You've been so supportive and fantastic, because what we do is that we work with the Small Business Center. We work with the City of London, with their Business Hub Center. Innovation Works also help us. We also have our internal Fanshawe Entrepreneurship Center, the Leap Junction. And what happens is that, we teach them the curriculum, but also all these organizations support us through certain workshops and provide absolutely valuable information on absolutely everything you need to know if you want to start your business. So they are really, really effective. I've just actually, a couple of days ago, I was talking to one of my business students, and just about a week ago, he actually opened his business. So we kind of were celebrating. And you know what he said? He said, they are not my words. He said that those OSLT business courses should be mandatory for every newcomer. So yeah, explore, research, absolutely. Go on Fanshawe website, find OSLT courses. It's being taught through Access Studies. And
well, there is a reason we invited you today's session, because we also think it's very important. I want to talk a little bit about cultural awareness. And Jerusalem, I'll pass this over to you. Are there any specific cultural aspects that immigrants need to be aware of when starting a business? Sample examples. I mean, you're an immigrant. You started your business here. Any?
I think that's a very good question. That's what I think makes Canada the most beautiful country, right? It gives you that, the platform to be able to keep your culture, but at the same time to integrate into what we call our Canadian society, right? So when you're opening a business, you have to know where you are, the society, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, right? We may have a certain of our cultures that we would like to keep. That's a wonderful thing. But it's like opening knowing your clients, right? What do they like? What do they not like? What is working and what's not working? And the same thing at Canada as a country itself. If one comes here and wants to open the business, it's good to understand the culture, the clients, who, what is acceptable behavior, what's not acceptable, things like that. So I believe it is a very important aspect of the business. I had to learn it, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues who are also immigrants had to learn it. It's
my experience with new immigrant entrepreneurs opening businesses, the cultural aspect is very important to them. That's at the heart of why they're launching their business. And one of the questions I ask them, straight up is, who's your target market? And I'll ask that to all my clients. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And is your target market people who are familiar with your culture, of the same, the same background, came from the same country or same region? They understand the products or what it is you're selling, or is your target market people that aren't familiar with your culture? And if that's the case, then now you need to educate those people. You need to tell them what these products are, what are the benefits, the merits, the values, what do they like, the taste of it, if it's a food product, or how it's similar to something else that perhaps they've used or, bought here in Canada and that kind of stuff. So it almost becomes a bit of an education. And I want to echo what Olya said too, is communication is so, so important. And don't ever lose the accent. Anybody? Olya, I love your accent. Jerusalem, it's beautiful, and it's a beautiful accent. I think that speaks to the just the beauty of Canada is the multiculturalism. Absolutely. But communication in how they speak and how they engage, how they market themselves, how just in signage and different things like that. I remember I met with a client, this is going back several years, who had opened up a restaurant, a small little restaurant, cultural restaurant, and he was doing some marketing and some stuff, and he was struggling a bit, and we reviewed it, and on his marketing and on his menus, he had this, it was this, very bold statement that there was a free bird with every order over $30. Free bird with every order over $30. And I asked him, I said, what does this mean? Like, are you giving away chickadees, or are you giving, like, he goes, no, it's a quail. It's a roasted quail. And it's a beautiful quail, like, and which is like a delicacy. And he thought it was this beautiful gesture that he was giving to his customers and clients, and it was. And I tasted his quail, and it was it was delicious and that kind of stuff. But it was simply a change of free bird to free roasted quail or gourmet. I can't remember exactly how we worded it. And the change from my conversations following up with him was quite impactful on that, and that sort of helped him understand better that the engagement of his words and the choice of his words, that perhaps he needed to go out and seek expert advice or just get other people to help him with that kind of stuff. And I've seen that in many new businesses as well.
Olya, do you have any suggestions or tips? I mean, we've talked about available resources through community agencies and through Fanshawe, but what other suggestions do you have that people can follow to kind of learn about the Canadian culture and get immersed?
Well, I do agree with what Phil and Jerusalem said, and culture is complex. I think what we need to understand is that culture can be visible and culture can be hidden, and actually most of it is hidden, right? So there are so many hidden cultural aspects about, again, Canadian culture. And the most important thing is actually soft skills, and again, what is soft skills? Again, that's communication, your pragmatic skills, personal skills, maybe presentation skills, again, communication, right? And if you are a newcomer, you really need to understand those soft skills that are required here in Canada. So you may ask me a question, why do we need to learn those soft skills? Don't immigrants have those soft skills? Of course, everybody does, right? So it doesn't really matter what country you live in. But what's really important is that every country measure their soft skills differently. So we are being measured differently in different countries. So for example, just to give you an example, let's say the attitude to that power and authority in different countries. Again, it's different, right? Here in Canada, it's pretty flat. But if you came from a country with a hierarchical system, and you used to be a boss, you used to be a manager back in your country, so then everybody needs to listen to you, right? You kind of dictate, and probably you make your own decision. You don't consult, you command. And you know what, is it right, is it wrong? It's just the way it is. That's the way people function in their countries. And by the way, I came from a country with a high hierarchy power as well. But what happens is that it's okay, it's fine. And that's the way maybe people actually show respect to each other. That's the way they apply their managerial style. But the problem is that when you come here and you use the same managerial style in Canada, especially when you start your own business or you run your own business. So then you start losing people. You cannot build positive relationships with them. People cannot trust you. They view you as probably a dictator, right? So it is really important to, again, understand that communication, the way you have to interact, again, with your clients, with your staff members. So this is really important. And again, if you think about soft skills, maybe time management, is also important. Again, Canada is a monochronic country, and what it means that time here is a precious commodity, right? That's how we think. Here in Canada, people schedule their meetings, their appointments, their events like this, back to back. So for example, if we have a meeting for an hour, then you need to finish on time, right? So that may be not the case in other countries. You have to be punctual. You cannot be late. Otherwise you will be viewed as a rude person here, right? Again, not the case in other countries. So you need to consider all these skills. I can talk and talk and talk, about, a number of soft skills and communication skills. Another example would be like even presentation skills. In many countries, presentation skills don't even matter. Here, it's everything, right? Mathematics is not that important, but presentation skills, they start teaching them from senior kindergarten, right? So you, as a business person, you need to know how to present, because you will be presenting your business ideas, maybe your business plan in front of your clients, maybe for financial people. And it's not only about how to put together PowerPoint slides, right? How to structure and style your slides. It's actually about how to deliver a message in a concise and clear way. It's about how engage your audience. So there are so many things that are, again, hidden. And when we come here, and I remember how I felt when I come here, you see it's a wonderful country. It's a wonderful country. You like everything here. But you see the differences, right? You think you see the differences, but you don't see it all. And sometimes you don't know what to do with that, right? Again, take some training on culture, on workplace communication, and it will help you to become successful, to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's great advice. And Olya, I could listen to you talk on and on and on about this. I really could. Unfortunately, we're in Canada, so we have to finish this meeting on time. But so I do want to move on to another topic here that comes up frequently with newcomers. And Phil, I think you can help with this one. And it's on the subject of credit history. Unfortunately, often when somebody comes here, their credit is not recognized. We know that it's important to business. How does somebody tackle that challenge?
Yeah. Great question. So, first thing, we'll explain to them is the importance of credit and really understanding how credit works. Many cultures don't believe in credit. Many cultures, believe in cash only, and even they don't trust the banking systems. They don't trust it. They're keeping all their cash or hoarding their assets and everything at home or in other safe places, but in business, in Canada, the culture is that your business will operate with a business account. That there is expectations from a taxation perspective and those kind of things. And opening up a business bank account if you're going to operate a business is a must. It's mandatory. How do you do that? Do you require credit for that? You can open up, as long as you have, your permanent residency, your Canadian status, or your visa in place, and you're allowed to open the business. As long as you register your business, you should be open to open the business bank account at a financial institution. Credit, on the other hand, is something that needs to be established by the individuals. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, first thing you do is you've got to apply for some sort of credit at one of our lenders, whether it's a financial institution or credit union or whatever. Usually you have to start small, and what you have to do is demonstrate that you can manage and handle credit appropriately. That whatever you get credit, and I always tell people, if you get a credit card, even if it's for $500, go. Some people will get a credit card and they never use it. That does not help you establish any credit because you're not demonstrating that you can manage credit appropriately. Go and spend something, buy something for $20 or $30. I don't pay it the very same day, the very next day, online or however you manage it. but that's how you build your credit through the credit facilities. And then as the lender becomes more comfortable with you, you will establish a credit score. They perhaps will extend your credit. Again, you want to use it. And you know, really, again, I think it comes to education, and I think Olya can probably speak to this, about understanding how credit works, understanding that credit's not a bad thing. Credit, when managed properly and appropriately, and this is a lesson for everybody, can be helpful, can be beneficial, and is almost a must in this, you know, in Canadian society. I mean, try and buy something online, try and shop through e-commerce. You need a credit card. In business, a business credit card, other lending facilities, whether it's a line of credit, overdraft, or a business loan, they are going to look for credit. So really helping them understand and educate that to them, and trying to, you know, assist them along the way. And I know a number of our financial institutions have some special programs for newcomers, some financial opportunities for newcomers, and also there's some, I know on a few of the websites through some of the banking systems also have some great information to help newcomers establish credit.
Yeah, there has been a lot of progress, I think, made in recent years about helping, you know, newcomers with credit. But I think the most important message, as you said, Phil, is just, you know, get out there and get a start on it. I mean, recognize that it is important, and you do need to actively pursue it, and make it happen.
Yeah, and I think, again, some cultures just do not believe in credit.
No, it's like Olya said. I mean, maybe you know, a mistrust maybe, or maybe it was Olya, maybe it was you, but somebody mentioned about keeping all the money at home.
Yeah,
that's not the way here.
Well, if they came from a country that perhaps had a corrupt government and a failed government, or, you know, and they lost, you know, much of their riches through a government or something that they blame it on, certainly that mistrust they're bringing with them, and rightfully so. But, you know, again, it's education, it's understanding, and we're fortunate here in Canada we have a strong banking system.
Yeah. We've only got a few minutes left, so I just want to, you know, close off by touching on some of the more common questions that we get from people who are starting a business. Now, hopefully, you know, our guests have also tuned into the earlier episodes this week, because there's tons of information and tips about starting a business in general. But let's just tackle a few. Phil, what are some of the questions people should be asking themselves before they start?
Some of the questions they should be asking themselves before they start. Well, you know, one of the first questions is, you know, do I have enough money to start this business? Have I done my research? That's probably the, you know, a message I continually say to our clients. Have you researched? Just because you had a business in another country that was successful does not mean that you can translate that successful business from that country to Canada. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. And I hope and I wish that they can, but I'll stress to them that they need to do their research. They need to really understand the market in Canada, the market in London, the market in, you know, wherever they're going to operate, and really understand that. So, you know, I think that's a lot of the messaging. I mean, we support businesses. We get asked questions, well, how do I register my business? What do I have to do for HST? I don't get it. I want to hire people. How do I do this? We support people, clients all the time in managing, not just newcomers, all the time in managing those aspects of the business. Do I need insurance? You know, how do I build a website? Where do I need to get for contracts or things like that? Those kind of things we can support individuals on, and that's what the Small Business Center does. We do that a lot of the times through our one-on-one consultations, and we go over that in many of our webinars. But certainly, you know, really, I always take it back to market research and really understanding what you're going to get yourself into if you do launch this business here with eyes wide open.
Anything to add to that, Jerusalem? Like, I mean, you must have learned a few things along the way when you started your business.
Yes, I think to start a business, you have to have the passion for it, right? That was the thing. Like, you can't do it just because your friend is doing it or somebody else is doing it. That said, for me, to be honest with you, the Business Center has helped me a lot. And even now, listening to Phil, I've attended the classes that are offered here for, when you're starting your business. And I have learned a lot. Not only have I learned a lot at that time, but it encouraged me, because you're very terrified when you're starting your business, right? Like, can I do this? Can I not? Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Because you're relying on yourself. You're relying on this business, right? If this business doesn't go well, then you're losing everything that you've invested in it. But by coming to the business center, which was a great decision on my part, it encouraged me. It was, oh, okay, I can do this because I have a support. There is this, the center that can help me. And you guys had everything, like the taxes, the business planning, all the questions that one should have when they open their business was all here, right? Anything that was in here, there is always a guidance. Okay, where do you go to find that information? And to be honest, like, really, really, I thank the business center so much, because I don't know if I would have been able to do it by myself and to be where I am now. And this is 5 years later, and I still remember that day, those times, those classes that I've attended, and it still stays with me, because it's your pillar to remember. Because there will be days where you go to work in the morning and you go, oh, this is scary, can I do it? And then you go back to those people that have mentored you, and the classes that you've given us, Phil, and the General Business Center, you go back to that time and you go, yeah, no, I remember that, I can do this, right? If not, how many times have I called, asking questions? So it is great, and I think for anybody that wants to start a business is to use those services that are available, that are out there, right? Don't be scared or don't be shy.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
yeah,
thank you for that.
thank
We couldn't
you.
have asked for better endorsement, and that's not why we brought you on the show.
No, and
But-
that's not why I'm
but,
here, but it is
thank
true. It
you.
is the truth, really.
You know, at the Small Business Center, we do work hard to make as much information available as possible, to make it readily accessible. But sometimes, you still need that little bit of extra help, that little bit of one-on-one support. Olya, how important do you think it is for a newcomer to find a mentor when they come to Canada? And any tips or advice on how to find a mentor? Oh, I think we've lost you. Hold on.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Thank you. That's a great question. And yes, mentors are very important. And that's what actually my students say. And again, you can find it through networking, right? Again, the Small Business Center, the City of London, some settlement organizations like the Access Center, the Will organization, CCLC. So you just need to research and find a network. Like network, many people ignore networking, but that's how you find mentors, because mentors are your teachers. Mentors will tell you all. And I just want to reinforce what Jerusalem and Phil said. Support is here. Support is available. Don't be afraid to start. Again, don't rush with opening or registering your company. Make sure you research and research and research. And you're right, find a mentor. Find the right people. Don't ask just your friends, right? But find the right people and ask questions. Be curious, be proactive. So that's the key, Research is here. Research is available, again, whether through our local organization or on the internet. Just take advantage of it, grab it, and you're going to be successful.
Thank you. Listen, we've only got a minute or two left here. I know there was a lot more you all wanted to talk about. We had some great conversations leading up to today's session, but alas, our time is limited. But if I could just get you each to answer this one final question, and that is, what final words of wisdom would you give to someone thinking about entrepreneurship? And let's go to you, Jerusalem.
I think, first of all, make sure you're passionate about the business that you want to start. And once you make that decision, go at it 100%. Use all the resources, know it, start it, and there is going to be scary moments, but just be resilient, be confident, trust in yourself, because anything is doable, and as long as you're passionate about it, you can do it.
Thank you.
Well said.
Yeah, very well said.
I would probably say just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's probably, don't be afraid to seek out help. You know, we encourage, we support, and there are resources like the Small Business Center and other organizations, and Olya and her team at Fanshawe are fantastic. I mean, I've supported and taught some of those courses with her, portions of those courses over the last couple of years, and just seeing the successes of some of these clients is great. That's where I love it. I love seeing successful clients, and I don't define successful clients as people that made millions of dollars, and just seeing someone who's doing something they're passionate about, and they're successful enough to earn enough money to pay their bills, to feed their family, and live a lifestyle that they'd like to live in London, in Canada, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, don't be afraid. That would sort of be my message.
Olya, your final words of wisdom?
Thank you. You're actually right. It doesn't matter whether you are in London or Canada, but I have to tell you that for those people who live in London, it's a fantastic city because of our community. I think that everybody supports each other so well, so there is support. And probably my words of wisdom would be, do your research, understand the culture, and be focused. That's very important. And another thing is that Statistics Canada say that about 33% of all business owners are immigrants. So it's 1/3. It's a big number. And hey, if they could do it, you can do it.
Great. That's wonderful. I can't thank all of you enough. Like I said, I'm sure you've got so much more you could share. And I want the audience to know that there are resources here to help. You know where to find the Small Business Center. So, don't hesitate. As we wrap up today's session, again, thank you to all of you. Thank you for sharing your expertise, your knowledge. To our viewers and the many small businesses out there, a huge thank you. Not only are small businesses hugely important to our economy, but you bring diversity to our community. You make it an interesting place to live. It is Small Business Week, and we salute you.